I'm Robin Sugar, founder of Empower Total Health. On the 4th of May, I had the enormous privilege of attending a lecture given by David Robinson Simon. It's a lecture tour sponsored by Voices, the Animal Protection Institute. David Simon is the author of the book Meatonomics. I read Meatonomics several years ago. I was really deeply disturbed by this book. It details the multiple ways in which these large, powerful conglomerates, which control the production and the supply of animal products to the US market, how they manipulate the legal, the economic, and the social environments to create favourable conditions for their own industry. But as disturbed as I was comforted by the thought that the situation must surely be better here, because after all, isn't everything worse in America? Over the years since then, I've gradually discovered that the differences in industry practices between our two countries are of degree, not of kind. As David Simon's lecture made very, very clear, Australian producers have learned from the experience of their US counterparts, and they're applying their most successful methods here to their benefit and our detriment. Simon, who's a lawyer and an advocate for sustainable consumption, framed one of the key messages of his lecture with a reference to Aldous Huxley's dystopian novel Brave New World, which was published in 1932 but is set in 2540 AD or 632 AF after Ford, referring of course to car manufacturer Henry Ford. Henry Ford developed the assembly line, which was incidentally inspired by the disassembly lines of the slaughterhouse, which were graphically described in Upton Sinclair's wildly popular 1906 novel The Jungle. The assembly line initiated a worldwide economic revolution as massive gains in productivity drove down the cost of consumer goods. In Brave New World, the major role of government is to support industry by developing and disseminating subliminal messages that manipulate consumers to buy more goods in order to quell any dissatisfaction that they may be experiencing with their lives, which, unbeknownst to them, are highly controlled. It turns out the future is already here in the shape of Checkoff programs in the US and agricultural levies here in Australia. These programs are administered by the Departments of Agriculture in each country, which levy a fee on producers of specific agricultural commodities such as dairy products, eggs or beef. The resulting pool of funds is used to promote consumption of that commodity. In the US, Checkoff programs have engendered campaigns such as Got Milk. Remember all those posters featuring celebrities and athletes sporting milk moustaches, and slogans such as Beef, it's what's for dinner. In Australia, industry groups have used these agricultural levies to fund highly successful marketing campaigns based around slogans such as Pork, the other white meat, and You're better on beef. According to David Simon, the average return on investment for Checkoff programs is a mind-boggling 8 to 1. That is, every $1 spent on these government-administered marketing campaigns yields $8 in additional sales of that commodity. In Australia, animal commodity marketing is coordinated by associations that are established by federal government acts as the declared industry marketing and research body for each commodity. The You're Better on Beef campaign emanates from one such body, Meat and Livestock Australia, MLA. This campaign, which is funded by government-imposed levies on producers, but with an additional dollar contributed by government, that is, you and me, the taxpayer, for every levy dollar that the MLA invests in research and development, as well as specific unmatched federal government grants. And this campaign yielded $2.91 in additional sales for every $1 spent. MLA proudly trumpets the fact that it also led to a 13% decrease in mums reporting that they were limiting their family's consumption of red meat for health reasons. What a win. David Simon invited the audience to consider these 3 facts. Fact number 1, Australia and the US already rank among the highest meat consumers in the world, with Australians devouring over 90 kilograms of meat per year. And I haven't eaten any meat for 30 years, so someone's been eating my share for all that time. And they eat my kids' share and my husband's share. We've also surpassed the US in annual consumption of meat for the first time. Fact number 2, Australia ranks number 3 in the world for annual new diagnoses of cancer. And fact number 3, red meat is classed by the World Health Organization as probably carcinogenic to humans, while processed meat, most of which is red meat, is a known carcinogen or cancer-causing agent. The cancer that is most strongly linked to meat consumption is colorectal cancer, and this is the second leading cause of cancer death in Australia. And there's evidence of an increased risk of prostate cancer, which is our 4th top cancer killer, pancreatic cancer, our 6th top cancer killer, and stomach cancer as well. Given these facts, it is utterly reprehensible for our government to be assisting the meat industry in its stated mission of growing demand via aggressive promotion of beef in the domestic market. As David Simon pointed out, the animal product industry, with government assistance, deprives consumers of their ability to make informed decisions about what and how much to buy through their relentless marketing activities. Unfortunately, when it comes to a conflict between government's responsibility to protect its citizens and its responsibility to promote commerce, even when the products of that commerce are endangering those citizens, commerce wins every time. Simon didn't discuss this, but those marketing activities by the meat industry extend to providing educational materials to schools so that undiscerning, highly influenceable children can be propagandized with the message that animal product consumption is healthy and necessary, along with partnering with influencers such as the popular Mamma Mia website to sway mothers to cook more meat for their families, and recruiting nutrition professionals and medical practitioners to promote meat consumption to their patients. The other 2 strategies employed by animal food producers to manipulate consumers to buy more animal products, again with the full cooperation of government, are firstly the introduction of legislation that decriminalised abuse of factory farmed animals, abuses such as castration, de-beaking and de-horning without anaesthesia, and confinement of egg-laying hens and pregnant sows. And these laws are known as customary farming exemptions, and they apply in 7 out of 8 Australian states and territories, with the only territory where they don't apply being the ACT, having no factory farms anyway. Then there's ag-gag legislation, which has already passed in New South Wales and under consideration in other states and federally. And ag-gag legislation makes it next to impossible to investigate cruel practices in animal agricultural enterprises. Then there are right to farm laws, which apply in 2 states and all 50 US states, and these laws make it next to impossible to bring charges against animal agricultural enterprises for air, water or noise pollution. All of these legislative measures allow the animal product industries to maintain the fiction that their practices don't harm animals or the environment, which reduces barriers to consumer acceptance and consumption. As the MLA's 2016-17 annual report proudly states, these strategies have been wildly successful. And I quote, consumer sentiment benchmark research in 2015-16 found the percentage of consumers reducing meat consumption due to environmental reasons fell to 1.6%, and due to animal welfare reasons fell to 3.2%, to total 4.8%. This is the first time this figure has been under 5% since this benchmarking project began in 2010. The second strategy is manipulation of the price of animal foods, which cues consumers to buy more of them than they otherwise would. This is achieved by externalizing the costs of production, that is, forcing society to pay for harms that result from producing a product rather than having the producer pay those costs. For example, meat consumption increases the risk of developing certain types of cancer, as I discussed previously, but the meat industry doesn't pay for the medical treatment of afflicted people or compensate society for the loss of income tax revenue when cancer victims can't go to work or when they die prematurely. Likewise, the enormous burden of antibiotic resistance, which is largely driven by the animal agriculture industry's relentless overuse of antibiotics in livestock, that burden is borne by the individuals affected and by the taxpayers who fund the hospitals who give treatment to people with antibiotic-resistant infections, and not by the industry that's contributing to the problem. In the US, the animal agriculture industries externalize a mind-boggling $414 billion per year. For every $1 of animal products that are sold at retail level, $1.70 in additional externalized costs for healthcare, environmental remediation, subsidies and the like is imposed on society. In Australia, the lowest estimate for externalised costs is 13.9 billion Australian dollars yearly, mostly comprised of healthcare expenditure. Externalising costs allows producers to keep retail prices lower than they would be if they reflected the true cost of production. Naturally, driving costs down drives sales up, as consumers perceive that animal products are a bargain compared to healthier alternatives. As disturbing as David Simon's lecture was, for me, the worst was yet to come. When I got home after the lecture, an email from the principal of my daughter's school was in my inbox, announcing that the school was conducting a fundraiser for cancer research the very next morning. And of course, what were they going to sell to raise funds for cancer research? Pancakes with sugar and maple syrup and lemon, at least they had a fruit in there, sausage sandwiches, and bacon and egg rolls, all the lot. Can there be any better demonstration of the pervasive power of the animal product industries to recruit authorities at every level of society to promote their products for them for free? Brave new world, we have arrived well before 2540. I sent an email to the principal questioning the wisdom of selling foods that are known carcinogens in order to raise funds for cancer research, but at the time of recording this video, I haven't yet received a reply. When you can't trust governments or schools or nutrition and medical professionals to give you just the facts and not industry spin, you need to learn how to investigate issues for yourself. My Empower Ed program does exactly that. It equips you with vital skills to navigate the oceans of fake news, alternative facts, misinformation and disinformation on health and nutrition. Sign up for a free month of membership today and experience all that Empower Ed has to offer. And I'll catch up with you next week for our weekly update.